Another great strategy that I like is slack with a cost. Another term for that is emergency reserve, but I don't like that term for this because I don't see any need to bring the term emergency into the mix. I just don't like what that does psychologically. We're kind of replacing one slightly disadvantageous term with another there. So slack with a cost is great. I also like the idea of a calorie reserve rather than an emergency reserve. But basically what you're doing with this approach is you're setting an ambitious goal for your calorie target and your rate of weight loss. We're assuming it's a weight loss goal in this context, but it can theoretically be applied in other contexts as well. But what you're doing here is you're setting a calorie target for each day, but you have this reserve of calories that is there if you need it, and it's budgeted effectively. So even if you use it, it's not like you're taking huge steps backward. It's like maybe a calorie budget that puts you into a smaller deficit, but still a deficit for the week. Or maybe it just brings you up to maintenance for the week. And you say, okay, no steps backward, but no major steps forward. That's totally fine. But you've got this calorie reserve and you can tap into it as much or as little as you want throughout the week. And you can allocate it throughout the week as much as you wish. So you might get to Wednesday and say, for whatever reason, today I'm using my whole calorie reserve for the week. You use it up. And then you get right back to dieting. You know, there's been no explicit deviation from the plan. You had this reserve, you used it, no big deal. And if you wanted to, you could also kind of allocate it throughout the week or only use part of it. It's just there as it's almost like an emergency fund with finances, where it's like, I want to keep that there just in case I need it. And sometimes I will have a financial issue where I need to tap into that and use some of it. But the reason it's called slack with a cost is because I think this actually effectively uses some of those concepts related to operant conditioning to some extent. We talked about how you want to make sure that everything is in alignment. You don't want to have like a reward that opposes your goal. I like the fact that slack has a cost here, which is that you can tap into it and use it. It's there to be used if you need it, but you understand that if you use that, you are slowing your rate of progress toward the goal to some extent. Yeah. It's not necessarily, grinding your progress to a halt, but there is a cost to using that emergency reserve very liberally and frequently. And so you are, in this case, instead of having this weird incentive where you diet as you're seeking a reward of a cheat meal that kind of opposes your goal, you have this reserve here. But you understand, it's there if you need it, but as you use it more, it is to some extent going to slow you down a little bit. So you are incentivized to only use it when you feel like you really need it. So I think it better aligns that idea of these extra calories that are actually aligned with the incentives that match your goal. So slack with a cost, again, a really fantastic alternative strategy rather than cheat meals.